How to file Form DS-160 online. Step-by-step instructions. What is Form DS-160? Form DS-160, also called the Online Non-Immigrant Visa Application, is the form you fill out when you're applying for a temporary visa to visit the United States. Who needs to complete Form DS-160? People who plan to visit the United States on a temporary visa, people who are coming to the U.S. on a fiancé visa, and Mexican citizens applying for TN status must complete and file Form DS-160. This requirement goes for all visitors, including children. If an applicant is 16 years old or younger, or they can't complete the form themselves, a third party can help them. How to fill out Form DS-160. There's no paper version of Form DS-160, so it must be filled in and filed online. What documents and information do you need for Form DS-160? To complete Form DS-160, you'll need your passport and travel itinerary, as well as any national ID number from your home country, and your Social Security number or U.S. taxpayer ID if you have one. You'll also need access to your travel and employment history, and simple biographical information about your family members and travel companions. If you're coming to the United States to study, you will need a copy of your SEVIS ID, which you can find on your I-20 and DS-2019, along with the address of the school or college you'll be attending. Temporary workers, like those on a TN visa, should keep a copy of their I-129 handy if they have one. Last, you'll need to upload a recent photograph that meets U.S. government guidelines. Part 1. Personal information. In the first part of Form DS-160, you'll provide personal information such as your name, date of birth, and marital status. You'll also be asked for your nationality, your passport or national identification numbers, and your U.S. Social Security number or taxpayer ID number if you have them. Part 2. Travel information. In this section, you'll describe your travel plans. This includes the purpose of your trip to the United States, your dates of arrival and departure, and the U.S. address at which you will stay. If you don't have specific plans, you can provide estimated dates. Part 3. Travel companions. Here, you can fill in the details of anyone traveling with you. This might include family, friends, or members of an organized tour group. You don't need to include work colleagues traveling with you. Remember that everyone who travels still needs their own Form DS-160. Part 4. Previous U.S. travel. Next, you'll be asked if you have ever visited the United States before. If you have, you'll need to provide dates and details. If you've ever been denied a U.S. visa, or if you've ever filed an immigrant petition with USCIS, you'll need to make note of that in this section. Part 5. Address and phone number. This section is straightforward. Enter your current address, phone number, and email address. You can enter an alternate mailing address if you want to. You will also be asked to list all the social media accounts you've ever used over the past 5 years. You don't need to provide passwords, but you should list all the handles or user IDs you've used on sites like Twitter and Facebook. This is a recent addition to the DS-160, with USCIS officials now required to check your social media activity while reviewing your application. Part 6. Passport information. On this page, you'll be asked for your passport information. You may be asked for a passport book number, sometimes also called an inventory control number. Not all passports have this number, so if your country doesn't use them, just check does not apply. Part 7. U.S. point of contact. In this section, you'll list a person in the United States who knows you and can verify your identity. If you don't yet know anyone in the United States, don't worry. You can simply submit the name of any business or organization you intend to visit during your trip. Part 8. Relatives. Next, you'll provide basic details about your father and mother. You may also be asked to provide details of any family member currently in the United States. If you're married, you will also be asked for your spouse's name, date of birth, nationality, and home address. Part 9. Work, education, and training. In this section, you'll fill in the details about your occupation, educational background, and employment history going back 5 years. You'll also be asked for your travel history and for details about any specialist skills you possess, or any military groups, charities, or professional organizations of which you've been a member. Part 10. Security and background information. Here you will answer yes or no to 25 questions on security and background issues. Make sure you read these questions carefully and take care when answering, as mistakes here could adversely affect your application. Part 11. Applicant photo. You'll need to upload a photo of yourself that conforms to U.S. Department of State guidelines. Once you've uploaded the photo, you'll be able to adjust the size and crop the image to make sure it fits the requirements. Part 12. Review, confirm location, sign, and submit. Last, you'll be asked to review the entire form. This is the final opportunity to check whether your answers are accurate. You will then be asked to confirm the location from which you're applying, so that your application can be sent to the appropriate U.S. Embassy or consulate. Finally, you'll be asked to read some terms and conditions, and then submit the form. After submitting the form, you'll click Next to access your official confirmation page. You must print the confirmation page and present it to consular officials at the time of your interview. What happens after filing Form DS-160? After filing Form DS-160, you'll need to print the confirmation page. This will be required when you interview at the U.S. Embassy or consulate. If you forgot to print your confirmation page when you first filled out DS-160, you can log in again using your application ID and security question in order to print it out. You can check the status of your DS-160 application at any time by visiting the U.S. Department of State website. How much does it cost to file Form DS-160? Good news! There's no fee for filing Form DS-160. You'll still have to pay the fees for the specific visa for which you're applying, though. For most non-petition-based non-immigrant visas, such as tourist or business visas, the fee is $160. For petition-based visas, the fee is typically $190. These fees vary depending on the type of visa, so be sure to check which fees apply to your specific situation. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Boundless for the latest in immigration news. Thanks for watching.